Yo, welcome into the House of L podcast. I'm Laurence. Thanks so much for hanging out here with me. Ooh. The Bears go down to Houston and they lose to the Texans. It was an interesting game that we need to spend some time talking about. We are sponsored by our good friends over at Remy Martin. Those of you who are not watching on YouTube, I am wearing my Remy Martin bucket cap, which is nice. And since it's an actual night game tonight, I am going to do the nightcap, which is where I listen to the press conferences and let you know how I feel about everything that I heard. I'll do that in the morning, depending on when you're listening. But no real reason to do a nightcap when I'm doing the actual first reaction podcast. And man, they beat the young man up. And it was interesting watching how all of this played out, because initially it looked like the quick game stuff was starting to work a little bit. And then it looked like it wasn't working at all. And they got hip to it. And it was almost as if Houston took a couple of quarters to figure out what was going on and how they were going to best defend against Caleb. And once they did, it was terrifying. I felt really bad for Caleb in that game. And you could see some of the moments of frustration, and from not just him. This is the most that I've ever seen DJ Moore react, because he is Mr. Cool, Calm, and Collected. And to see him react the way that he did in this game, like, there was a lot of frustration. The offense, I thought, and I'll have to watch it again, but I thought that it was too horizontal and not vertical enough. They were doing a lot of stuff side to side. They weren't challenging. But then again, how in the world can you challenge down the field if you can't protect the quarterback? And they struggled in protecting the quarterback. 7 sacks on Caleb on 41 dropbacks. The numbers on Caleb were ugly. The yardage doubled, but from last week, but 23 of 37, 174 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, passer rating of 51, and he was sacked 7 times. And even on plays where he wasn't sacked, on run plays where he got hit, like if you're talking about like the welcome to NFL moment, I don't know that Caleb had one against the Titans, maybe the 19-yard sack. This was D'Amico Ryans' defense was an absolute menace to Caleb Williams and the Bears offense. They can't protect it. You're seeing the Bears for 2 games now not be able to run the ball. Here are the final numbers on what the Bears did running. Caleb Williams was their best running threat. That's not good. That's not what he's here to do. 5 carries, 44 yards, 24-yard chunk for him. The longest carry beyond Caleb Williams is 24 was a 7-yard run from DeAndre Swift. 14 carries for him in this game for 18 yards. I was listening to Mully and Olin and Patrick on the pregame. I took a little walk after dinner, was listening to the guys, and they were talking about how they didn't see a lot from DeAndre Swift. I'm right there with them. I haven't seen a lot from DeAndre Swift either. And I thought that he would be a much more significant player in this offense than he has been through 2 games. The running game is also affected by the ineffectiveness of the offensive line, and they were ineffective. They have been. You're watching Coleman Shelton get pushed back on damn near every snap. Nate Davis, man, struggle bus for him. And overall, like it was both teams are very sloppy today. Too many penalties. This game went on forever because of the penalties. A bunch of first downs happened because teams were undisciplined. You had officials not seeing punches to the face on the sideline, all those things that would make you hate the way a game was played, the ineptitude, and the fact that you had to sit there through a bunch of nonsense with both of these teams. Houston had 12 penalties for 115. Wow, for 115 yards. And the Bears had 9 for 60 yards. You're not going to win a lot of games if that's how you get down. If it's sloppy like that, you're not going to win. But Caleb's going to be in an ice bath, because it wasn't even like one guy just getting after him. I mean, there were a bunch, and he kept getting crunched. And what I mean by crunched is whether it was the ends or both of the tackles, them converging on the Bears quarterback and just destroying him. Like physically, I wonder about this. I also wonder about mentally. Has he been beaten up in a game before like this? I know the Notre Dame game was ugly because of the interceptions. This felt like an absolute like dismantling. Will Anderson was wearing Caleb Williams like a suit. 1.5 sacks for him in the game. A bunch of quarterback hits. He got hit 11 times. That's too many, especially when you consider that there were the 2 interceptions. It's amazing that the Bears were able to stay in this game. It's amazing that they legitimately had a chance to win this game at the end if they were able to put together a sustained drive, but they weren't. Them getting the takeaway on the goal line, because that would have probably ended the game. I think that would have probably been it. If Houston scores there, then it's, I think, even worse, because then you're forced to pass the ball. It's Yaha time for them, and they just start trying to destroy your quarterback. Now, that's what they ended up doing anyway. But through 2 games, I am unimpressed with what Shane Waldron has done, and that the lack of verticality in their offense is something that needs to be discussed. We saw a bunch of missed blocks from the offensive line and Cole Kmet, putting people in danger and trying to get to a block on the edge and couldn't do it. And because of that, guys are getting popped. We talked a little bit about it last week on the pod. For a guy who gets a lot of credit for having played the position, therefore he knows how to find offensive linemen, I am struggling to see where Ryan Poles' expertise lies. Every one of their linemen struggled. Tevin Jenkins was on the ground a couple of times. Braxton Jones had a rough night. Darnell had a rough night. Nate Davis was, at the zoo or at the circus or went to go see Shaka Khan or something, is he was not all the way there. And Coleman Shelton was getting folded backwards into Caleb Williams's lap. When you have something like that, it makes it really difficult to even run an offense. But even the stuff that we saw them do, I don't think felt very good once the adjustments were made by Houston, between the end of the first quarter and the second half. They said, screw it, we're going. I haven't looked up the blitz percentage yet, and maybe in the recap that's something that we'll talk about tomorrow morning, but that blitz percentage had to be high because they were bringing heat. Guys are like, and what really stinks, and Collinsworth pointed it out, although he did point it out after he was saying, well, this game would be different if Keenan Allen was out there. I mean, sure, I guess you have another guy out there that can get open, but if the quarterback doesn't have time, what does it matter? If your offensive line can't identify stunts and pick up free rushers, I don't know how Keenan Allen being out there is going to help. Unless you're going to ask him to go out there and block. He's a big dude, but, I don't know if that's what you want to ask him to do. The struggle was real. And I am realizing that my chair is very squeaky. I mean, that right there is like Shannon Sharp level squeaky. I'm just kidding, Uncle Shay. Anyway, this game was woo. Is there any good? The defense played really well, and they kept CJ Stroud from dismantling him. Although I will say, man, some of the throws that young man makes are incredible. You see him make some of these throws, and the touch that he's able to put on the throws. The hope is obviously that Caleb Williams gets to that level of performance at the position, but you're watching one of the best guys in the league. And if his team was more disciplined, this could have very easily been a 2-touchdown win, 17-point win, if they weren't allowing first downs to keep happening for the Bears because they were playing undisciplined ball. The Bears continue to do cool stuff on defense. And I guess that's something. Oh, you know what? I thought Javon Dexter, I really enjoy watching Javon Dexter tonight. And obviously, like when you take the ball away and you're tough and you got a guy like Bayer, like not scared to put his head in there and make plays. He had 11 tackles, had a tackle for loss, ended up with the fumble recovery. Oh, Jack Sanborn. Jack Sanborn had an amazing game. I thought he was terrific. He had the pass breakup early on, and then he has a sack. That's a guy that, considering how good TJ Edwards and Edmonds are, you're not expecting them to play Jack Sanborn that often because you're expecting other teams, especially a team like Houston, to be in 11 personnel a little bit more often. But shout out to Jack Sanborn. He was the Bears defense was really, really good. I imagine this will change, but there are no tackles for loss for Montez Sweat. He did knock down a ball, but I mean, I can't have any beef with a team that kept one of the best offenses in the NFL to 19 points. You give up 19 points to CJ Stroud at the crib, you're supposed to win. Like, you're supposed to win that game. And I guess, we have to really talk about like what is the objective of the 2024 season? Is that objective winning games, or is it developing the quarterback? If it's developing the quarterback, I'm cool with it. That's what you do. You get number one pick, you try to help him grow. But I kind of thought that we had reached a different level of development with the Bears. The good news for them, I don't think Indianapolis is very good. And they can go and beat Indianapolis and be 2-1, and everyone's breathing a sigh of relief. But if they don't get some of their main problems on offense fixed, if they don't get protection fixed, you might be better off just running like max protect stuff for a little bit and see if you can catch someone napping. Like maybe it's a 3 tight end look and you run some stuff early where you're putting Everett and Kmet into routes. And then you're just like, nah, we're going to have all 3 of the big fellas out here doing work. And we'll see if we can get the ball to DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, or if Keenan Allen is back next week. But that was rough. Absolutely rough. Thanks so much for listening. For those of you on YouTube, thanks so much for watching. We hit major threshold for the YouTube page, and I know that I've only kind of been taking the page seriously for a month, and for that to be the case, for us to hit a threshold that will end up making things profitable for House of L is a big, big thing. I thank you sincerely. I'm glad that I've got some ideas. I actually was talking with some people this weekend about different things to do with the page, but we'll keep doing more content, man, and we'll do more. I'll have the nightcap sponsored by Remy Martin tomorrow. It's a YouTube exclusive. So if you're listening to this and you're like, wait, what? House of L has a YouTube page. Subscribe and you get stuff like that. I'll have some other things to talk about too, I imagine. I'll talk to you next time. Peace.